Kia ora and welcome to the Creative Matters podcast, where we have inspiring conversations with New Zealand artists. I'm your host, Mandy Yarkich. These conversations are intimate, uplifting and insightful. The guests on this show have absolutely enriched my life, and I'm sure their stories will have the same effect on you. Thank you so much for joining me to listen to these amazing people speak about what drives them, the way they work, and their personal takes on life. Hi, and welcome back to Creative Matters. Thank you very much for joining me. This is another episode in Season 3, which is generously supported by Creative Communities Scheme in Auckland. This week, I'm speaking with Olivia Asher. Olivia is an emerging multidisciplinary artist currently studying at Auckland University's Elam School of Fine Arts. In this episode, which is a little bit different to our usual episodes, Olivia shares her experiences as a second-year student at Elam. We talk about how the school is set up, the application process, the papers and electives offered in different semesters, the recording and assessment systems, the critiques, what she finds inspiring and challenging about studying at Elam, and what her goals are for her future. Olivia's art practice currently focuses on the process of making rather than the resolved image. Exploring her own vulnerability, she allows her materials to dictate their outcome. Her subject matter blurs between whimsical and melancholy, often creating abstracted and figurative windows into her serene and flamboyant world. Morena, Olivia.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. Thank you so much for coming out here to join us on the Creative Matters podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Really nice. Yeah, it's great to meet you. And you were recommended by Elam School of Fine Arts to come onto the podcast. So you come well recommended.
Good. That's good.
Yeah. So, it's going to be kind of a little bit different this time with this episode that we are talking to you as a student at Elam, which is at the Tamaki Makaurau School of Fine Arts, which is connected to Auckland University.
Yeah.
So it will be really interesting to talk to you about your journey so far. You've had 2 years at Elam.
Yeah.
And then also obviously your practice and your goals for the future as an artist and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So yeah, it will be really interesting, I think, for people considering Elam, at any age.
Yeah.
Just in general, very interesting. I haven't done a degree in fine arts myself, so it'll be really interesting for me to find out more. So we'll be talking about that and then also something about you as an artist too. So that's really interesting. Cool. Looking forward to hearing all about you.
Sounds good.
Okay, so why don't we just for a starter hear a bit about your journey towards getting to Elam. So you're now 28. So you are probably what they call a mature student.
Yes, yep. I'm a mature student, yeah.
Which is really funny. But how did you actually get to that point?
Well, I think I knew it was always something I wanted to do, study fine arts. It was always just kind of looming in the background, I guess, when I was a lot younger. It's not really kind of a degree that your parents are like, yeah, do this, it'll make so much money. It was always kind of like a lofty idea, like, oh, I really like art, I'm good at it. Do I really want to invest this time and money into it? So I kind of, just put it on the back burner for a while and did the life experience thing and moved around to cities and worked a lot. But I would always kind of draw and practice art on the side. But it was actually lockdown, COVID-19 in 2020. I was in Melbourne. We had a pretty tough lockdown. And I just decided to just make every day. And that kind of forced me to really reflect and be like, okay, do you want to be working, doing this job that you're not that excited about, or do you want to pursue something that you genuinely care about and could see going somewhere? So that's kind of what happened. And then I just applied to Elam at the end of 2020 and moved over here beginning of last year.
Wow, yeah. So exciting. Well done for taking the leap.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
I'm really glad. Yeah.
And I've got so many questions to ask you. So I'm really keen to know how you actually, how that actual application process works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it actually changed. I think probably the year that I applied was the first year that you didn't need a portfolio, which really surprised me a little bit, because leading up to the application, I was painting and drawing and making to build a portfolio, and I had it all ready, and I went to the application. I was like, oh, this is strange. Like, there's usually a bit where you can upload the portfolio, and then I emailed through to the school, and they were like, no, just send through the application. You don't need a portfolio. If you want, you can send it through this email. We can take a look.
Wow.
And I did, but yeah, you didn't
need to do it. And is it an application form that you just fill in the actual form? Mm-hmm. Do you have to have another sort of accompanying letter or CV?
I think I did, because I am technically classed as a mature student, and I don't have all of the high school qualifications to immediately grant me into the school. So it was just like a few questions, basically, like why do you want to do this? And a little skill things, like what do you think, what support do you need to continue to do this degree, and how would you seek that, and that sort of thing. Yeah.
That sounds amazing. And did you have to kind of talk about your practice and, you know, say what your practice is all about at this point?
At this point, no. At this point, I think they just want to know that you're keen to learn and be a part of it, rather than define what you make and how you make it.
That's really interesting. Yeah. And why do you think they are not asking for the portfolio?
I think from what I've heard, a lot of people say different things, but it used to be really hard to get into Elam. Like, they used to, you know, not everyone was guaranteed entry. So it kind of created this exclusive reputation. I don't know why that changed suddenly. Maybe it was because of COVID and they realized how restricting it was, or, you know, a lot of international students couldn't come here. It could be a money aspect of, like, getting more students in meant that they could get more money, essentially. I also thought maybe it could be an inclusive thing. Like, you don't necessarily have to have this amazing portfolio or be incredibly talented or have the skill to kind of pursue art or what they want you to pursue, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes it more accessible, which is good. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And not everyone who wants to go to art school has already developed those skills.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, I think they kind of, basically wanted to open up and say, you don't have to be an artist to go to art school, which I don't think you do need to be an artist to go to art school. Yeah.
And why do you think you don't have to be?
I don't know. I guess it's good to make, like, the way that they make you think at art school, or the way that they can influence you, and kind of the things that they teach you could be applicable to other things, but also you might want to be a curator or an art writer. It definitely allows you to appreciate art and understand it, which I think I have learned a lot from going there.
Yeah. So I wonder if certain people in the community, especially possibly old school, you know, maybe older people who did go through Elam and it was a sort of more difficult process.
Yeah.
I wonder if people think that it had more value and a better reputation then, when it was kind of being, you know, the applicants were being vetoed so much.
Yeah. I think that's still there, that thought. thought pattern, and I definitely thought for a while that it might devalue it a little bit, just because it was less exclusive and anyone could get in. But in saying that, I don't think that really matters. I think it's what you choose to do in that situation or environment,
and what you make of that. Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because it did have that sort of elitist feel in a way that, you know, and a lot of our best New Zealand artists went through Elam.
Yeah.
You kind of wonder if the standard becomes lower if they don't have a certain standard that people have to be at to get in.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a really interesting conversation, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely been a shift at Elam from that elitist kind of mentality to perhaps more inclusive and just having to reflect on what they were as an institution and what they could be going forward, because so much has changed.
That's right, and I think it's fantastic they're doing it, because that's, to me, it's a great thing. Yeah, and I think it is moving with the times. It's a more modern approach.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear from listeners what they think of that idea.
Yeah,
of being more accessible. Yeah. So once you got in, what happened then?
Well, COVID happened. It was planned to be on campus in the first semester last year, but I think there was like a sudden outbreak. I think that was Delta. There was a sudden outbreak and we just had to be online for a little while. But they had planned that, so there was a little exercise or a smaller assignment that we could do online remotely, and that was fine. It was strange seeing everyone on Zoom. I think art school is incredibly difficult to do remotely and on Zoom in any kind of situation. But it was good. Once that kind of little exercise or assignment was over, we just went straight into it. The sculpture was the first 4-week block. So like in the first year, they really get you going through each. It's a really quick turnover, like, okay, 4 weeks of sculpture, 4 weeks of painting, and then you have photography, printmaking, performance. Yeah.
So this feels like a dream to me. I would love that. Oh my God. I really feel like I need to go to art school myself. So what, for people who are considering art school, how does that feel? Are they just actually exploring sculpture sort of in quite a holistic kind of way, or are they just purely teaching you skills?
It's more less skills, more conceptual kind of understanding, and there's definitely a brief. Like for sculpture, I had never made anything. I didn't know what to expect. I was a little bit like, oh, is this the right decision? But we focused on like the materiality of whatever we were using. So dirt, sand, they really encouraged using found objects and that kind of approach. But it was more understanding what can be done with a material and how you can exhaust it and what that means. And they definitely suggested readings and, artists to look at. They were very encouraging. Which was good, I think, especially for first years, and for people who are a lot younger, straight out of high school. I think that's good to have that kind of supportive environment.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. And were they starting to then introduce right from the beginning sort of how to speak about art? And were you actually exploring different artists and that kind of thing, looking into work?
Yeah. So there's 3 kind of modules or 3 papers that they get you to take in the first semester, and one of them is, exploring different practices like sculpture and painting. The other one is kind of inducting you into every area of Elam. So you have like the metal workshop, wood workshop, you have photography, all of these different resources. And then there's a third one where it is context about art. So you learn about different artists, what it means. It gets you to explore how they kind of, how do I say it? Basically how they came to be. you learn a little bit more about the history of modern art and contemporary art. Yeah. So it gets you writing about it. So it's basically like a technology paper, a practice paper, and then a writing paper that they get you to take, yeah.
Which is really, it's a really great thing for an artist to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Although that can be, I imagine, daunting for some students.
Yeah, I think at the start it was like, okay, cool. Yeah, this is a lot. But I think like anything at uni, once you are in there for a few weeks around peers asking teachers questions, you kind of get the hang of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you find the other students? I mean, you're a bit older, even though you're still young.
Yeah.
And that's the funny thing about that mature word.
Yeah.
How did you find the people that, you know, in your year? I mean, I just heard from another artist today saying how her cohort, you know, the other students in her year, that is what she gained most from being at Elam. How do you find the students?
I think they're great. The students are really, really great. I've made some great friends. I think I definitely, maybe not consciously, kind of gravitated towards people of my own age group or like a little bit older, just because I think there is that level of maturity and kind of understanding of who they are and what they want to pursue. But the students were great. Really some amazing artists, incredible talent, and just like bouncing off ideas and kind of everything that you want in an art school. The students kind of create that hum and you want to be there. Like if I'm in studio, it's always nice when there's someone else making, which is because we're basically just hanging out making art.
Yeah.
Which is great.
It's so good. And after the other work that you'd done leading up to being at Elam, did you sort of feel like, oh, I found my place, I found my people?
I think so. I think, yeah, I didn't really surround myself with a lot of creative people prior to being at Elam. Like I definitely had some friends that were artists, but it was never a fully immersive environment of being around all of these people who have different practices and different ideas.
And if you think back to yourself just when you left high school, were you, I mean, you said you had always wanted to, you know, pursue your creativity, but how do you think you would have been at 18 at Elam compared to 28 or 26 when you started?
I would have been a little bit more naive. I probably wouldn't have taken advantage of all the resources that were there.
In what way?
I mean, like you have access to studios and from 7 till 11 p.m. at night, and I kind of prefer making it at night a little bit. So I do spend a lot of time in the studio quite late. You have, I guess, access to just I think more so the actual studios themselves, like the ceramics. Even if you're not doing a ceramic course, you can still put things in the kiln. Like even if you're not doing printmaking, you can still go up there and talk to Steve and ask him some questions. There's all of the technicians you have access to. If you want to pursue something outside of the papers that you're taking, you can do that if you really want to. And I think if I did that when I was 18, I probably would have been really shy. And I probably wouldn't have been comfortable enough to kind of do that and pursue those things. Whereas going now as an adult, having life experience, I feel confident in asking for what I want.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be like that, yeah. And how do you think your 18-year-old self would have handled the conversations and, you know, the talking conceptually? I've always thought for someone just out of high school would be quite hard.
Yeah, I definitely would have stepped up to the challenge, but I think I probably, from my own personal experience, would have struggled a little bit, kind of understanding these concepts. But now, I don't know, now it just seems to come a little bit more naturally. And
makes more sense.
Yeah, it makes more sense.
And do you feel like, you know, your life experience or sort of anyone's life experience and kind of getting out there after high school, out of an institution and living a normal life. Do you think that is a big plus for Elam Art students, or do you think it depends on the person?
I think both. I think it depends on the person, and I think it would benefit a person as well to, even if it's just like 1 year, just like a gap year, just take some time off from learning, because you have time to reflect on what you kind of want out of your life and what matters to you. And I think because I spent so long out of high school, I was like, there was always that recurring thing of like, art, okay, this matters. I know it matters, but like, when is it going to be the right time? Yeah, I think it depends as well.
And I guess you've got a bit more stability financially, possibly, if you have done other things.
Yeah,
makes
absolutely.
it a little bit easier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. It's really fascinating. I actually have never been to Elam, so I don't really have a picture in my head.
Okay.
But what would you say, how could you actually describe the school?
The school, it's at the bottom of a hill. That's probably the worst part, is that you have to get out. You've got to walk up a hill. So there's two main buildings. There's the Mondrian, which has kind of most of the workshops. So you have on the bottom level metal, wood. You have ceramics. And then across the way you have the foundry, where you fire everything, and you have all the metal equipment and that. But then back in the Mondrian, so the bottom level is all the workshops, and then it's just studios up from there. Like there's 4 floors. The second floor and the third floor are basically all studios, and then the top floor is studios and also the printmaking workshop. So you have that as like completely decked out with everything you could think of printmaking.
And you can access those whenever you want, as
Pretty
you said.
much, yeah. As long as there's a technician there, which is like 9, just your normal business hours, like 9 to 5 or 9 to 4. And then in the main building, you have the office, the little adjacent uni gallery, Elam Project Space Gallery, and then also more studios. There's a lot of studios, and the photography kind of area. So you have the dark room, a lot of little dark rooms, the shooting space of like digital photography, and I think that's it. Yeah.
And do you have an actual studio space that you get allocated of your own? Or
No.
do you go whichever one you feel like being in?
It kind of changes. So since the degree has kind of changed in structure, the studio space has kind of changed along with that. So it depends on the paper. Each paper has like a designated area of where their studio space is. So you could end up having 2 different studio spaces.
Right.
Like if I'm doing, let's say, painting one of those papers and I'm doing printmaking, I would have two separate areas of where I can make work for that specific paper. If that makes sense.
And how do you actually decide, can you talk us through the papers and how many you need to do and what kind of things they might be?
So the first year you do have your mandatory ones in the first semester. And then basically from the second semester of the first year to the first semester of your third year, it's all electives. So you have the 15-point papers, which are all technology based. So you're learning more about the materiality and the skill of the medium. So for example, I did ceramics last semester, and we were just learning about different building techniques and kind of what you can do with the clay rather than applying a conceptual idea or practice to it. So you have those, and they range from sculpture, painting, I think some, what's the other ones? There's like weaving, stonework. There's a whole range, and there's usually like 2 papers that match each.
And when you say paper, what do you actually mean? What does that actually mean?
So like a course.
A course.
Yeah. So
and then do you have like an exam at the end, or something you have to produce?
Yeah. So you have I think because art school is art school, you don't really have any exams. It's just more so like assignments that are weighted more than the other. So one could be like 60% of your grade, and one could be 40%, but it's all internal grading. So there's no just have to sit in do the whole exam thing. There's none of that, which is really good.
That is good. And then with the practical, the things that you're making, is that what gets assessed?
Pretty much, yeah.
And is that linked with writing?
Yeah. So you basically have to document everything that you do throughout the assignment. Say if an assignment was 4 weeks long, every little thing that you do and every discovery, document, put it into what we call a workbook, and just kind of like your notes about it and research that you've done on artists or material or trial and errors, things that didn't work out or did.
My God, that just sounds like heaven.
It is quite good. Yeah, I do like it.
What do you find most inspiring about the course?
I think I really do like the physical making. I think I find that kind of all of it really, find that really inspiring. And then just doing research about artists. I love learning about different artists from different countries or even from New Zealand and ways that they've approached, different materials. It's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Oh my God. I think I need to go. You're really inspiring me just talking about it.
There's one more paper. So you have 15-point papers and then there are 30-point papers, which are more conceptual based. So like I did one, it was identity in the self. So it really explores like identity politics and gender and all of that. And you can apply really any medium or practice that you want to. Like if you're a photographer, you could explore that in regards to this idea that the paper is about. Or you could sculpt, you could kind of do whatever you think fits it best.
Oh, wow.
Which is really cool as well. Yeah,
that's so good.
Yeah. So you, basically choose 2 years of electives. You build the degree that you want, which is why we don't have majors, because you can explore anything that you want to.
Yeah, which is great. And so you do call yourself an emerging multidisciplinary artist. Do you think that would have come without going to Elam, or do you think because you've got all these opportunities, you've kind of become that kind of artist?
I don't know. I think I always wanted to do a little bit of everything. I definitely didn't want to limit myself to only painting or doing ceramics. But I think from going to Elam, it definitely encouraged me to not stick to one medium. Like I want to, even now, explore more and other ways to make.
Wow. And how do you find the relationships with the technicians? I mean, is it there's technicians and then there's lecturers, is that right?
Yeah.
And how do you find the relationship with them, and what do you get from that connection?
I think the technicians are good if you have specific questions about a material. Like I always ask the ceramic technician, Franca, about like what happens if I use this glaze on this, specific work? What happens when it fires? Will it create like a bleed? Or I always have these weirdly specific questions. But they're always there to just help. Like, I don't know. We can try it though. Sometimes they won't know how it'll turn out, but they're there to support you. And the lecturers are great. I love the lecturers, yeah.
And what are their roles? What do they do with you?
They kind of guide you, and they definitely ask questions, which is not a bad thing. They want to get you to think about what you're making and why you're making it. Like, what would happen if you did this to this work? Yeah. So I think the questioning is really good, but they're there to just also to guide you, but more in a academic sort of way. Yeah.
And is there any time where you actually go back to that more traditional lecture sort of format and where they actually speak at you and you take notes?
Yep. Yeah. One of the papers that in the first year that you have to take is it's all lecture based. You go into the rest of the university where everyone else studies other things. And you just, it's the typical kind of university
lecture
theatre. Yeah, you sitting there. There's the board at the front. Yeah.
And how often does that happen?
I think Well, for this paper, it was happening once a week for the first semester. But then there's also a little lecture theatre at Elam, which is less traditional in the bigger scope of the university. But I think it depends. It depends on the lecturer. Like I would always go there when we started a new project because it was just easier to have a PowerPoint explaining everything that needs to be done and kind of the approach. So maybe a couple times a semester beyond that first kind of semester of the lectures.
And how do you find that form of learning?
I definitely prefer hands-on, but I understand that has a place. I definitely find it a little bit harder, the traditional way of
Sit down
learning.
and shut up and listen.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't suit everybody's way of learning.
No.
But I guess it's got its place in a way.
Yeah.
And, people talk a lot about the critiques and that kind of thing, the assessments at Elam.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain how that actually works and what it's for and how it feels?
Yes, the crits at uni at Elam. I've definitely heard some stories of people crying after crits. It's just there basically to not analyze, but review what you've made. And they put it out to the rest of the class, being like, we, get feedback from your peers about what you're doing. Most of it is supportive, which is great. But, because, it depends how much a person can take on that specific day. Not everyone's up to hearing that their work needs to change or be better. But I think I've definitely benefited from it, I think. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting concept, but it's important because it makes you reflect not only on your work, but on other people's work.
And how does the actual sharing work?
It's just like a classroom. You just like talk or
you show your work and talk about it.
Yeah, pretty much. Like we might go around in a circle depending on where you are in the studio space. You talk to your work, but what kind of like your ideas, what you're doing, where you're going, and then I guess everyone else contributes and what they think. They do, and they don't have to as well to contribute. It's entirely up to them.
Okay. So do you ever find that somebody sees something who doesn't really necessarily know what they're talking about and it might come across quite negative? You're opening yourself up to lots of different personalities.
Yeah.
And that could be quite destructive potentially for some people.
Yeah.
How do you find that?
Well, thankfully, because I'm a little bit older, I have a thicker skin, so I don't. I know not to take things personally.
Yeah, and that must be a huge advantage.
Yeah.
I think 18-year-olds coming out of school would find that quite tough.
Yeah, even contributing to the conversation that we're having, I find that it's definitely the people who are a little bit older that do have enough confidence to say, hey, this work is great, or have you tried thinking about this? It's definitely, I guess it depends on the person, but in that environment, you know that it's no one's personally attacking you, saying, hey, I don't like your art. It's, definitely not that approach. But I would say if I was probably a little bit younger, I would take it a little bit to heart. I'd be like, okay, wow, I spent all of this time making this work and none of my peers have said anything positive about it. Yeah. That's never the case, but I think I would have,
because, your work is so personal.
Yeah.
But then I guess it's a mindset, isn't it? Like you're there to kind of develop your ideas and develop your practice and
totally.
And you can just take on all this stuff as a thing that people might say to you, but it's informing your practice, but it's not necessarily going to change what you do.
Yeah, exactly. You could listen to everything everyone has to say and just be like, well, I'm going to do it my way anyway. But thanks for the feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, but that is a personality thing too, how you can receive that.
Yeah.
And do you think people get better at receiving it as time goes on?
Absolutely. I think also you get better at critiquing other people's work as you go on. Even if it's just, spending time with the same cohort and becoming comfortable enough with the person to share your ideas with them. I think it definitely gets easier.
Getting to know different people and having that trust, I guess, would be helpful. Yeah, it's really interesting. And then how do the assessments work through the 3 years?
So kind of the same for each paper. There's probably a few different assignments for each one. And that's pretty much it. You just basically get given an assignment. You're like, hey, it's due in 4 weeks. This is it. Each assignment, though, you start with one that will eventually add on to your other one. Like, it informs the future assignment that you're doing. So you're not just like studying one thing. Okay, that's done. Let's start something new. Like it always contributes. Yeah, it's a development. Yeah.
So it's quite interesting, isn't it, that it's gone from a 4-year degree to 3 years. Do you know when it was actually changed?
I think it was the year that I applied, where that was the complete cutoff. I think the year prior is when they were on the cusp of changing. And a few of my friends in the year above me had the option of, doing the old degree, which was 4 years, or doing the 3-year degree, which from what I've heard, they did kind of push the 3-year degree to get it done, essentially over with, which is interesting.
Yeah. And do you feel like, I guess it's hard for you to say, but I just wonder if you're going to be getting less out of your degree, 1 year less.
Yeah, I think definitely at the end of this year, I'm knowing that I only have 1 year left. I'm like, is that enough time for me to explore new things? Which now I understand why people do postgrads. Yeah. You have more time to, explore your practice.
And so the postgrad, that gives you one more year and you come out with a master's.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I think it's 1 year or a year and a half. 3 semesters, I think. I think it depends,
With Elam, could you just continue and say, I want to do a postgrad, and you just carry on doing what you're doing?
From what I know, yes. I think so.
Which sounds good.
Yeah.
So there is that option.
There is that option, totally. I don't know if it's something I would do, or if I would take a break, potentially even apply to a study at a different school. Not to say that Elam isn't great, but...
different perspectives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Experience something else, yeah.
That's a really good idea, actually. It's a nice mix. Yeah, and I'd like to talk to other students of different art schools in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Because, different perspectives of different schools would be quite interesting. I like that idea of doing a 4th year at another school.
Yeah, I kind of do as well, even if it's in New Zealand or potentially overseas.
Yeah.
Somewhere else, yeah.
Totally. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're in your 2nd year now and just finishing up, or have you finished?
I finished with the year.
Wow. Well done.
Thanks.
That's why you can be here, probably.
Yeah.
And you actually had a show which you called Waving Smiling, which I love, the title. Yeah, maybe if you tell us a little bit about that, and then I think we can go back and you can describe the kind of work that you're now making.
Okay. So the show, Waving Smiling, I was given the opportunity to kind of have my own show. I wanted to kind of make as much work as possible, just so I could have the option to display all of this different kind of work. I definitely use the opportunity to explore, which is really something important in my practice, is discovery, exploring new things, and not always, but constantly finding new ways to make or making new revelations. So this show was basically the exploration of different materials with textile. I use a lot of color as well, which I love. I think there needs to be more color, I think, in New Zealand art. So I used spray paint, pastel, soft pastel, all of the kinds of paints, oil, gouache, water, acrylic, and working with different textiles. Like I worked a lot with chiffon fabric, which I found really interesting and cool. because it just kind of creates itself in a way. Once you apply the paint, it warps and changes, and the more water that you put on, the more it's likely to bleed. And then I used a lot of curtain material, all of it recycled, all of it from Trade Me, funnily enough, and velvet. Yeah, all of that. And then I have always wanted to paint figurative work, but every time that I tried, I'd be like, this doesn't look like how I want it to look in my brain. It's not translating. So I would always give up. But I figured, why not do it for this show? And I really kind of pursued it in a way that I wanted to, in terms of it was abstract, yet you could still tell that there was figures. It was playful and whimsical, kind of funny in a way, humorous, which I think is really important. It kind of just gave me this opportunity to make whatever I wanted to make without it being graded as well, which I thought was really important.
Yeah. Because
there's always that looming, thought of, okay, do I meet this aspect of the rubric? Will this get a pass? Yeah.
Yeah, that would be quite refreshing to step away from that.
It definitely was. And then to have peers and teachers come in and look at it was really good. I felt quite exposed a little bit, but it was really nice, yeah.
That's brilliant. And that's over and above what you're expected to do in your second year.
Yeah, this was completely separate. Like I was making all of this work on top of assignments.
Yeah, that would have been huge.
It was huge. It was very stressful for a little while, but the reward was pretty phenomenal of just standing in this huge space, looking around, seeing all my work. I'm like, wow, I did this.
Yeah, that would be incredible. And it's a very cohesive body of work, isn't it? It feels cohesive, but it's using quite a lot of different materials.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And were you happy with the curation?
Yep. Yeah. Cool. Well, because you only have a week, you have Monday and Tuesday to install. So you basically got 2 days to figure out where everything is going and, get the lights in the right spot.
And you do that yourself?
I did that myself, yeah.
Wow.
I think one friend helped me on the first day because I was just so overwhelmed. I laid all my work on the floor and I was like, I don't know where to start. Just to help me put things on the wall to get it kind of flowing a little bit. That's
quite a lot. I mean, that's a whole other skill, isn't it? Curation.
Yeah. Big time. Yeah.
Great learning experience.
Yeah, it definitely was.
And how did you actually hang your the chiffon and that kind of thing?
Well, with the chiffon, I kind of stapled it to frames. So like I repurposed frames, essentially stretched it on the back of that. So it was basically already hung, so I would only need to hang it from the frames. But with the other material that was loose, I did it in different ways. Some of it I just nailed straight into a wall. Other ones I hung quite like 2 corners from a string up quite high in the ceiling. It definitely varied. Yeah.
Beautiful, which is nice. And can you tell us the ideas behind this work or this body of work, this exhibition? I mean, they have some amazing titles like I Cannot Control You Unless I Undress and I Am Too Pure for You or Anyone. So is this a very personal show? And or if so or if not, what are you commenting on?
I think all of the art that I make is really personal. It's just kind of like a relationship with myself, and I'm expressing it and essentially creating a relationship with my work. The titles often come from what I'm listening to at the time when I'm making, or poetry that I'm reading. They kind of derive a little bit from that. And it definitely comes retrospectively. Like I'll finish all the works and then I'm like, okay, it's time to name them now. And then that's a bit of a process in itself. Figure out like finding lyrics or poetry or things I've heard in passing or things that someone has said to me. I've created a list of potential name titles for future works. and kind of figure out what fits best to, the visual. Yeah.
So you're not you're not trying to help the viewer to understand the work necessarily.
No.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Because I think titles can, I don't know, it's just like a fun way of putting words to something visual that doesn't necessarily have to connect, but as soon as you put it next to that or with it, it instantly creates something, a relationship between the two. Yeah.
And it makes the viewer think. The viewer is still kind of thinking, oh, okay, what's this? How does this connect with this? Which is interesting in itself. It's another way for the viewer to connect.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Even though it might not be the best clue for understanding what you're thinking.
No.
And do you actually, have you written like an article or an essay to go with that, or a description of the exhibition and the work within it?
No, I haven't. I think I would like to. That was the plan, was to write a little essay alongside of that, but because I was doing it all myself, it was just too much work, really, unfortunately.
Yeah. It would be on top of all the other work that you were doing.
Yeah.
So why do you think your work has that sort of whimsical, almost childlike feel from this exhibition anyway, this selection of work, and that sort of, as you mentioned earlier, that a bit of humour around it?
Yeah.
Where does that all come from?
I think it definitely comes from childhood and wanting to kind of keep that playfulness going, because I believe sometimes, especially in fine arts, it can just get so serious and just so like macabre and
Heavy.
heavy. And although like some of the things I do depict are like girls crying or, that kind of thing, when I kind of fit it with or combine it with playful colours, it does make it humorous. And I think I just want to continue that and make it fun and playful and enjoyable to look at, even though it might not have come from a completely enjoyable place, or applying a new narrative to perhaps memories or bad feelings, all of that kind of stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's fantastic that you've had that opportunity to actually create a body of work like this on top of what you've been doing at Elam.
Yeah.
And so where do you think you're going to go from now with your practice into your third year?
I'm going to take a break because I feel like I've made a lot this year. I am actually a part of a group show, which is opening next weekend in Auckland City. So I've submitted some works for that the curator will figure out. But after that, I will take a break, a nice long summer holiday. Yeah.
Sounds good. And then next year, at the actual study, do you start kind of refining your practice and working towards that final grad show?
Yeah. Yes. Like even now, I've started thinking about what I could potentially do for the capstone, which is a while away, but I kind of like to get ahead of it. But I will start figuring out what it is I want to be doing. Yeah.
And then where do you see yourself going at the end of your study? And can you see yourself actually becoming a full-time artist or a part-time?
I ideally would like to have a full-time art practice, but also have a part-time job, if that's possible. I think I know friends who are full-time artists, and it seems like a great gig, but also having that kind of structure, which isn't always there when you're making art. You can be up till like 2 a.m. painting, but having that regular structure, being a part of society, and is kind of nice as well. So I think having, your mind to just focus on something else is really important when you are creating, because otherwise you just get so consumed by, well, I do personally, just constantly thinking about like new ideas, like lying awake at night, like, okay, if I apply this to that, how can I, this might happen. Yeah, so it's nice having a little disconnect between different aspects of your life.
Yeah, can be a nice balance.
Yeah, absolutely.
As far as, your making after you've left university, are you wanting to, do you see it as part of your career to be connected to one particular gallery or a dealer gallery, or do you like the idea of artist-run spaces or creating your own spaces? How can you see at this point that, how you will show your work in the future, or is it too early to say?
I think definitely not too early to say. I like the idea of both. I do understand that there is a place for both, dealer-run galleries. That being represented by one would probably be beneficial, because they have the client list, and just having that platform to be able to show and kind of guarantee that you'll always have a show each year for as long as they, have a contract. But I also really love artist-run space because it just feels a little bit less finance, less business, more fun, more about the conceptual art and the creativity and what can come from it in terms of community. So maybe both. Feel like really greedy, like I want to do it all. Yeah.
Which would be great. But then there's some dealer galleries have restrictions on what else you can do.
Yeah.
Which
that's
is
the downside.
A whole other podcast, which is what Scott Laurie actually kind of touched on in his podcast episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting and tricky. I don't know. I think I definitely not closed off to either of them. I definitely want to explore both of them at some stage in my career. Yeah.
And where can you see your actual practice heading? Do you feel like this, what you've started with this current show that you've just done, waving, smiling, can you see that kind of just being the basis of your practice overall, or can you see it moving away from that or developing from that?
I think developing from that. It was definitely a good start, and I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to explore that. I definitely think it informed my practice a lot. But I think that's just the start. I want to develop more, and I've been playing around with ceramics and, see where I can go.
So when it comes to the business side of art, which can be a tricky one, did Elam actually support you to figure out how to run a business as an artist?
No. In short answer, no. I mean, like if you went to some of the lecturers or technicians and had questions, being like, "Hey, I want to sell this work. How would I go about that?" They would definitely help you. And maybe in my last year, that they might touch more on that. I'm not sure. But up until now, there has been no real discussion.
And there's no papers around business.
There's creative careers and exhibitions. I haven't done the papers, but those kind of base more on curating and being that kind of part of the art community rather than making. They kind of tend to focus more on the actual making rather than the money business side of it.
Which is interesting, isn't it? I mean, I would have thought they've made these changes to keep up with the times.
Yeah.
You'd think that they would think actually artists need this kind of information as well, because it's a huge part of making a career out of
absolutely
visual art.
Yeah.
So it's quite surprising that you can go through university and not touch on that.
Yeah. Yeah, which makes me wonder if other universities, if that's even other art schools, if they even do talk about that.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting to know,
Yeah.
And that's why I think it would be really interesting actually to have conversations with different students from schools, but also possibly talk to actual people who work in these environments and these institutions would be actually super interesting as well. Yeah. So maybe you could find somebody for me to talk to.
Scout out some people.
Yeah. But it is interesting that it's not a focus because it's such an important part of what an artist does.
Yeah.
And so many artists don't feel equipped.
Totally. Yeah, even if it's not a paper or just like a workshop.
Or getting business people in to say, to give some advice or some guidance.
Yeah, no. They just teach you how to make and then send you off.
And say, good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's, It would be a great addition, wouldn't it?
I think so.
And how do you find the marketing at the moment of yourself? You use Instagram as your
I do,
main...
yeah. Yep. Yeah, I think Instagram definitely has its place for marketing, artwork. It's helpful. I think a website, which I'm currently making, would also help, just to have a place where I have all of my work, because I like to create so many different things in terms of like writing and making. I just want it all in one spot. But also, I don't know how to do that. So it's teaching myself new things, or like asking friends to help me create these new platforms for me to sell myself, essentially.
Yeah. And that, again, that would be a great conversation to have at art school.
Totally.
How to create a website.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think people who've been to fine art school do have that advantage in a way that they've kind of learned the speak a little bit, or learned how to sort of think through and verbalise the practice.
Yep.
So, Olivia.
Yes.
You're in your you've just finished your second year, which is amazing. What would you say to your younger artistic self at age 18, leaving school?
I would probably say don't stop making. Like, you still have this dream of going to art school, and it doesn't have to happen straight away. Just wait, keep making, do what you're doing, basically. And, things will happen when they're meant to happen.
Yeah, at the right time.
Yeah.
And what would you say to somebody considering going to Elam? It could be somebody coming out of high school, or it could be someone in their 50s.
Yep. I would say do it. If it's something that you genuinely want to pursue, it's great. I've really enjoyed the past 2 years. I'm glad that I went to Elam. I would highly recommend it.
Oh, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming today,
Thank
Olivia.
you for having me.
And it's been really interesting to hear more about Elam. And I definitely would like to talk to people from other schools, just so we can, compare. Well, not compare, but, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for sharing with us, and I wish you all the best with your art career.
Thank you.
And I'll be watching and coming to your shows.
Please do, yeah.
Yeah, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
It's been fun.
It has.